Welcome to Coffee with the County, another episode of Coffee with the County. I'm with Mike Dangers, our assessor,
Yes.
our master assessor.
I don't know about that, but
And Mike's at a busy time of year. It's tax assessment time, right?
Right.
And I know that you've been working really hard. There's tax statements that have gone out to the public, and we wanted to come in and talk about that as a timely thing for the residents to learn and know. So
Right.
tell me a little bit about what's going on.
yeah, just a few weeks ago we mailed out the tax statements and the value notices, and those got sent out to all the taxpayers in the county here, and in the same envelope. You know, the value notices are really what we're most interested in right now because that has the newest value for next year's taxes. It's on a yellow piece of paper, if that's something that you've seen in with your tax statement. It might be something you might miss because it's always behind the tax statement, like an extra page, but it really is has completely different information than what the tax statement has. So.
Yeah, so that yellow piece of paper that's in those mailings, that's 2026, like pre-assessment of what 2026 is going to look like. That's why everybody should be really interested in that one.
Yeah, so we send it out now, so we give people plenty of time to be able to take a look at the number, both value and classification, and it gives them an opportunity to ask questions about it or make an appeal if they so choose. And so that number and that classification doesn't actually take effect in the taxes until next year's payable taxes, right?
Okay. And I know we had your group in earlier and had a great conversation on how the tax assessment timeline works, how taxes work, but I remember back in that conversation, now you said come spring, this is going to be one of those times where you're going to want to watch that tax. It's going to tell you what 2026 is going to look like.
Right.
And then they can do what they need to do from there.
Right.
I know it's hard because we're a huge county, right? And it's commercial, it's agricultural, it's all of these things.
Right.
In your expertise, what have you seen for 2026 tax assessments? Has it been close to normal? Has it been? Teach me what that all means.
Yeah. This year, in general, for most people, this year's valuations really haven't changed as much as we've seen in the past few years, because like right after COVID, things really seemed to go up pretty dramatically as far as values for lots of different types of property, and now things seem to be leveling off more, and it's getting more stable, basically as far as the values go. There's fewer sales that we've seen come through this past year, but still with those fewer sales, we're still seeing these properties sell generally for more than what our value is. So then we have to keep up with that market value, with that sales price. So the Department of Revenue at the state, they actually monitor our progress on that, and they do something called a sales ratio study, which basically requires that we're within about 10% of full market value each year. So
So just like anything else in government, right? The state or the federal, those guys set some rules and some guidelines and some boundaries that we have to follow. It's not just what we decide here in Aiken County to raise for taxes or assess values. You have to follow a strict formula and things like that again we talked about in some detail at another podcast, which I think was really helpful for everybody that was listening or did listen to it to learn how the whole process works. But
true.
You've got meetings coming up, you mentioned. When do they start?
Yeah, here on April 21st, Monday the 21st, for a couple weeks every day we have what's called the Local Board of Appeal and Equalization. So many of the townships and cities in the county have those specific meetings for their area, and a group of townships and cities also that have elected to go with an open book meeting, which is something we have here at the courthouse or at the government center, and where we can help people right at the counter at that time. So if a person looks at their valuation notice, and they'll see on that notice which meeting would apply to them if they'd like to come out and see us at that time. But even before that meeting, they can certainly get a hold of us either via phone, email, or just come to the counter anytime that we're open, and 8 to 4:30 Monday through Friday. So
it's important to not wait, and a lot of times there might be just questions that are there from the public that you guys can answer very quickly. It doesn't take a meeting to do,
right?
And you guys are wide open for that, and
exactly.
I appreciate that. I know you yourself. I saw on the city council agenda for Aiken, you did some visiting with Aiken earlier this week,
right?
And I know that you dedicate your time to go out there and talk with the cities and things like that on there. So thanks for you and your team doing all that and trying to spread that message. Anything you want the people to know about specifically? Says it in that letter, and
for the most part, we're also getting ready for our new assessment cycle for the 26 assessment. Once every 5 years, we're required to reassess all the properties in the county, like other counties in the state too. So the appraisers go out and look at 20% or 1/5 of the county each year. So there are a group of areas that are going to get reassessed this year. So what we're doing is we're sending out a postcard here in a few weeks to all the property owners that are affected by that. So if you do get a postcard in the mail, it's a green postcard from Aiken County, and just pay attention to that. And if you have any questions about it, let us know. And at some point during the year, the appraisers will be out, knocking on your door, and they'll leave a card in the door and ask some questions about what changes might have happened to the property over the past 5 years or anything like that. They're there to update the county's records and to keep things up to date. And, so
keep things even across the board with everyone and all of that assessment. I know it's a really complicated thing that you guys do very well and make very easy when you sit down and talk to you about it. I do have to compliment you on that too. I was with you on a call that we went to and sat down with a business person that had questions, and when we left there, they didn't have those questions anymore, and that's exactly, I think, what we're here for as government folks, and we're here to help, and I appreciate all that you've done for that too.
Right, communication's very key and important, and we're available to answer any of those questions as best we can.
Great. Well, thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
And for those of you that are understanding the tax assessment, you have that yellow piece of paper in your letters that came out not that long ago. Take a look at that. If you have questions, reach out to Mike and his team. And we're here to offer those answers. So thanks for coming in, and we'll see you again soon.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you bet. You're listening to Coffee with the County.